Well, let's head over to the UK now, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is desperately battling to turn around his political fortunes ahead of an election on July 4 amid tanking polls for the Conservative Party. And all of this has apparently prompted Sunak's latest proclamation that his party would reintroduce mandatory service, conscription, for 18-year-olds if returned to power. Here he is.
Britain today faces a future that is more dangerous and more divided. There's no doubt our democratic values are under threat. That is why we will introduce a bold new model of national service for 18-year-olds, to be spent either in a competitive full-time military commission over 12 months, or with 1 weekend per month volunteering in roles within the community.
Well, joining me to discuss the latest from the UK is writer and broadcaster Esther Krakue. Esther, welcome. What's the national mood on conscription? I can't imagine this being a particularly popular move, is it?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, because clearly this is not appealing to the 18-year-olds who are going to have to give up a weekend a month to volunteer in the community. Certainly not. But Rishi Sunak is hoping to appeal to older voters, particularly pensioners, that have always been kind of, the Conservatives' stronghold. The problem that you have now is that conscription, national service was abolished in the UK in 1960. So you have basically 2 generations of people that have never even seen anything like that. And Rishi Sunak's idea of trying to get young people out of their holes and really kind of reintegrated into the national community is missing the point of the actual concerns of young people. Young people are concerned about the fact that they can't afford a home or start a family, or that high levels of immigration have depressed their wages. These are the kinds of things that are, mostly concerning young voters. This is what's affecting their ability to have a stake in society. You're asking them to give more when the government and successive governments have basically taken more and more from them. The interest rates alone on paying back your student loans are ridiculous. And most people have to make at least £60,000 a year to even cover the interest, let alone actually paying back the loan. So young people have legitimate grievances. For people like Rishi Sunak to want to ask them for more is a bit infuriating for them. I mean, people like Rishi Sunak, who should have been the adults in the room and not have allowed other crazy adults to tell young people they can change genders and mutilate their genitals and do all these things. They weren't able to rein them back, but they're now saying that they can do more for them by asking them to give up more of their time for their country that they feel have failed them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's a vote winner. Hey, I want to ask you about blasphemy laws in the UK. Back in 2021, a high school teacher was suspended from his job for showing a satirical cartoon of Muhammad during a discussion on religion. But being suspended wasn't the worst of it. He and his family received numerous death threats, and 3 years later, they're still in hiding. Now, the government is proposing laws to protect school teachers from losing their careers and potentially their lives for the sin of blasphemy. What on earth is going on in the UK that we need these kind of laws?
Well, it's been revealed that teachers have no protection against things that might offend certain parents. Religious education is, you have to study religious education up until, I believe, year 9. But how can teachers teach that when you have certain communities that feel like, things that don't conform to what they believe is the appropriate line, makes teachers feel basically threatened and have to basically run out of their jobs. It is notable to say that it's people of certain faiths that seem to get the most riled up. So you don't see incidents like this involving Christians or Jews or even Sikhs. But it tends to be kind of poorly integrated, mainly Muslim and sometimes Hindu communities in the UK that feel the need to hound out teachers that say things they feel are offensive to their religion. So teachers do need that kind of protection, and it's unfortunate that it's come this late and a teacher had to be made an example of. But thankfully, the government is finally getting on it. But it just shows the poor state of integration and subscription to British values that we're currently in right now.
Right, very quickly before we go, I want to ask you about Harry and Meghan. Now, they just did a tour of Nigeria. Apparently, other African nations are inviting them to come visit as well. And Charles is worried they might be setting up a rival monarchy. Do you think there's anything to this? And is that what Harry and Meghan see as their next move?
Not really. I mean, the question is, what excuse will they have? So the country that we here are trying to court them is Ghana, which is my home country. But Ghana doesn't send veterans to the Invictus Games. So what would be the excuse of having Harry and Meghan there? Is Meghan going to say that she's now 50% Ghanaian, of Ghanaian heritage? I mean, the question is, if they're going to do that, because this is really as good as it gets for them, how are they going to do it, in what capacity, and how many countries will be willing to invite them and potentially offend the royal family?
Esther, I'm sorry, Esther, I've got to cut you off. We've just run out of time, but I appreciate it. Thank you so much.